Of course, it's something that had meaning, purpose, not just another business, right? We didn't just want to need to generate more income. We wanted to make sure we were filling a need. When I heard about the opportunity, it checked off all the boxes for us. So that's how we originally got introduced into assisted living.
Welcome to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex Schlow. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show. Welcome back to today's episode of the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Schlow, and today we are thrilled to have Pedro Luna on the podcast joining us. Pedro, do you mind giving us a brief introduction to you, where you are right now in your assisted living journey before we jump back in time to how it all started?
Yes. Again, I'm Pedro, and I'm a structural design engineer in the aerospace industry for the past 20 years. I'm actually right now into rotation to supply chain. And my wife is a caregiver. She used to work at a SAC unit, private pay back in the years. So together we complement each other and our current development, which is the development of two 16-bed assisted living and memory care homes here in Oklahoma.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to see your experience both in logistics and engineering and your wife's in the caregiving and how you guys make this really incredible team. And we'll certainly talk more about that as we go. And so you're located in Oklahoma. What kind of got you interested in assisted living?
Yes, really started on my wife and I wanted to look into a commercial property. We want to look into business. We wanted to look into something that if she had to jump in, she was willing to do. And then the fourth item, of course, it's something that had meaning, purpose, not just another business, right? We didn't just want to need to generate more income. We wanted to make sure we were filling a need. When I heard about the opportunity, it checked off all the boxes for us. So that's how we originally got introduced into assisted living.
I love that. Yeah, it is such a fulfilling real estate niche or investing niche that you can't get that anywhere else, right? Like you can't do the good that you can do in assisted living in any other asset class. And so that is a huge reason why we love it and why I think folks are naturally gravitated to that. And of course, a lot of us have had some experience with assisted living or with a family member in assisted living or something like that. Was there anything maybe in your wife's experience or your experience where you're like, hey, this is why we're really feeling called to this, or any moments like that were like aha moments for you?
So in reality, it's where we're at right now. My mother's 71, mother-in-law 70, father-in-law is 80. So we're there like the rest of the majority of Americans, right? Where are our parents going to go here shortly? Is I've heard stories. I have not been personally involved, but then I started doing the research. And it's like, whoa, is that really where I want my mother to end up? We have to do better. As a society, I'm sorry to say, we don't do that well to care of our elderlies. They have dedicated all their lives, and then to come to the moment at the end that we forget and sometimes violate their dignities, do not see them as the person who they are. And so that's where really I started to get that drive. Of course, as a real estate investor, when I first got started, the numbers made sense, everything made sense. But then once you get in the space, it just changes you. You start to see reality of how things are not working. And that just made me catch on fire. That's why I have the passion for the project, because I see the possibilities. I see the opportunities to improve what has not been working.
Yeah,
That's really, it's for our parents. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Yeah, that's a beautiful answer. I feel a lot of us in this space, it's touched us in some way. And if it hasn't it yet, it's going to, and exactly how you said. And I think that we owe it to our parents, to our grandparents, to figure out how we can provide really exceptional care at end of life. And I think residential assisted living, and more specifically what you're building, is going to do that and do that really well. And that's one of the reasons we love the RAL Room so much and are so blessed to have started that community and be in that community with you guys and see what folks are doing, because it gives us so much hope for the future, right? I was on a call, this is a little sidebar, but I was on a call a couple of days ago with a gentleman named Richard Wexler. He's in his 70s. He's got a big platform called a Place to Age. And really it's about the education piece, right? And we talked a lot about how we don't do a great job at even educating our moms, our dads, our grandma, our grandpas about assisted living or about the options or about what end of life care looks like. And I think that's something that we could also do a much better job on. Start having those conversations early when they're 50, when they're 60, before it's too late, and just get the ball rolling and then start figuring out, okay, where would you like to potentially end up if need be? Or that gives you time to open your home like you're doing and potentially motivated by your family members. That's a sidebar there, but I think that this is going to touch everybody in some way. And the senior housing crisis is going to be detrimental if we don't really get the ball rolling on opening up more of these homes.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure, man. Let's go ahead and do an overview of your project and what you're working on right now. And then I'd love to, since you're in the new development space, I think it'll be really helpful for us too to talk through maybe some of those challenges that you've had already as you're getting zoning approved and planning approved and all those sorts of things. So tell us a little bit more about the project if you don't mind.
Yes. So the project is actually on 3 acres. It's two 16-bed assisted living and memory care homes. We already got the property rezoned and purchased it back in March. And so right now we're working through the city for the entitlement. Last night we actually went to planning commissioning, got approval there. So now we're going to city council December 8th. So getting closer here. And so we'll be pulling permits and breaking ground here shortly at the beginning of the year. So yeah, very exciting times. It's been a lot of work, but I do enjoy the opportunity to have learned so much during the process. Again,
Yeah.
as an engineer, give me requirements and I'll make sure I get it done, right? And so that's where I guess a little bit of my impatience that I had to learn is I'm used to you give me a requirement, you give me a timeline, and you normally challenge an engineer, right, with the timeline, or else we just over design. So when I got started here, I go and do the project, I get things going and submit, and now it's now we wait and we wait, right? And then again, another churn. And so that's been the learning process for me. Okay, I understand a solid foundation takes time. So it has given me the opportunity to start to think more a little bit of the actual overall project in this waiting period. But yeah, it's been a learning curve as far as working with the different cities, state on getting things done. Good thing the state of Oklahoma has already reviewed site our drawings and have given us the green light. So now again, just working through the city for the entitlement.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to pull a couple threads there of what you said for folks who are listening. You mentioned March. That was not when you got under contract on the land. When did you guys first purchase the land?
We went under contract on August of 2024 is we
Okay.
went under contract and we made it contingent to rezoning.
Okay.
We got
Gotcha.
the rezoning in February and bought the land in March.
Okay. So really, yeah, March was the closing on the land, but I wanted to just emphasize like this is a long process. Is definitely a hurry up and wait scenario you guys have been experiencing and a lot of work that you've put in. And I think a lot of times with new development projects, investors or just folks in general, they have a hard time conceptualizing that there's so much work that goes into a new development before the shovel hits the ground and starts breaking ground. And I think that kind of gets forgotten of, man, there's so much pre-development work that happens before the build even starts. Of course, the build, that's the sexy part, right? And that's the part that you can really more easily show that tangible progress. But for folks who are listening, like Pedro's been working really hard since March on getting everything lined up and ready to go to then break ground. It's a long process to get everything ready. And then once that happens, it's actually hopefully a little bit smoother of a process and more of a strict timeline because all that hard paperwork's already taken care of.
Definitely. And of course, the actual start for us was August of 2023 that we got started with the RAL Academy. So we've been through the coaching and learning. And so it's not like we just came in with we're going to go do this. And right, we actually had the training and coaching to go through and understand what we were doing and then find out how can we make it work. in our
Yeah.
state. Because every state, every city is different.
Very different. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is variable, that's for sure. And yeah, I wanted to hit on that too. Your education journey that you've had started in RAL Academy. Talk to us a little bit more about that, what you did there in subsequent steps. Because one thing I know about you for sure is you're always learning and you're always networking with experts in the space and always asking really good questions to people to find what that answer is. That's probably the engineer in you, but that's been something that I've really loved to see you do as long as I've known you. And so it's been really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Because I guess my mindset is you don't know what you don't know. And if I don't know, I ask. I'm not going to just assume, right, or let somebody assume that I know. I'm transparent. Like I would really ask because I don't know. And so that's my mentality. I also like for people to ask me questions for the same reason. I like to share what I know. And if I can't, that just makes me reinforce, go learn, make sure I can explain it. But yeah, through the academy, that's where, of course, you start the journey and then you realize that you have to go do your homework now because again I knew we wanted to do this here in Oklahoma. Our initial vision was just opening one 10-bedroom home, but then realizing that we can't do that here because in Oklahoma you cannot have more than 5 unrelated adults in a residential. Then you have to go commercial, right? And then it's okay, so then how do we make it work? So at that point is I started reading out all the city ordinance around here, the state rules and regulations, and see where can we make this work? Where's the demographics is going to work for us? And then realizing that, okay, if we're going to make this work, we have to go commercial. And if we go commercial piece of property, we still need them to be homes. Where is the sweet spot for them to be still a home? And for building codes, 16 and under is still considered multifamily, R4 residential, and 17 then becomes institutional. So then I knew that was our sweet spot. And so that's why I'm developing two 16 beds instead of 132. And so that's been the initial journey. After that, we are now in a RALA mastermind. RAL room, sorry. We are now in RAL Room Mastermind, and we get put into pods. And the other individuals in my pod, they're doing the same thing, also developing from the ground up 16-bed assisted livings. So really being there every week, sharing our challenges, our success stories with each other, and just holding each other accountable has been very valuable. And so iron sharpens iron, right? So I'm excited of this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The accountability in the RAL room and the folks in there are just top notch. We all just got back. You had more time at the event than I did due to illness, but we all just got back from the first event that we did live and we tagged that on to the assisted living conference. And it was just an awesome time. And Charlie, Luke, and I, when we left, we were like, man, this is amazing. Like the people in the RAL room are just absolutely amazing. What an awesome community. Like we're so fired up about the community and what's to come and all the projects that are happening. And it's just so cool to see what can happen when iron sharpens iron, when you get in a community who really holds folks accountable and builds each other up and provides a lot of resources. And it's been awesome, man. Thanks for all your input in the RAL room and for always being willing to present. For folks who don't know, Pedro just hopped on a couple weeks back and did a Shark Tank where he came and presented this deal. And it was awesome and he crushed it. But it took a lot of courage to just hop on in front of a bunch of people and present the project that you're working on. So it's been really cool. But yeah, man, it's been awesome to see your journey and getting the education in the space and networking with experts in the space and all those sorts of things. I feel like you are very well prepared for this project. I wanted to ask, I feel like there's a lot of people listening who are probably wondering about how do you find land for a new development? Was there anything in particular that you guys were looking for the land for these two 16 beds? What was that process like for you?
So first of all, I need to understand where the city I was going to buy at, what their ordinance, what zoning would allow me to build these homes. So actually, they don't have a zone for assisted living, regardless if it's a multifamily or if it's commercial. The other zonings, you still need a special permit. So then I looked at, okay, where does the city envisions the future of the zonings. And so that's where I based it off of. So I started targeting there where they wanted it to convert a little bit more into like residential, but still a little bit of commercial. And actually, the piece of property that I bought was not my original piece of land that we went after. It was actually the third piece of land. So like you said, there's a lot of effort that happens.
Right.
There's a lot of months that were spent in due diligence in the other properties and everything. And so we're able to acquire this piece of land, which was originally zoned suburban office. And then we got it through a PUD zone for our use.
Okay,
So
that
yeah,
is
you got
awesome.
to do some homework there.
Yeah, some acronyms and stuff, and there's a lot that goes into zoning and codes and all those sorts of things for folks. Don't get overwhelmed by that.
Yeah.
You can learn it, and there's definitely experts who can help you sift through what is needed and all those sorts of things. But the really big takeaway is you got to figure out what the city wants and play their game as well. And one huge thing that you mentioned, Pedro, that I want to make sure folks get out of this is you looked at what the city wanted in the future, right? And that can be huge. You have a little bit of power and control. If you go look at, hey, what's the city plan for the next few years? Okay, they say that they want to increase senior living. Awesome. Here's an opportunity for me to go talk with them, ideally in person, explain what I want to do and how that's going to help them fit their vision for the city. And that can be really helpful as well for people. It's very important, especially when you're buying land, to make sure it's zoned appropriately, that you can build what you want to build. But just know if it's not already ready to rock and roll, there are some paths forward from that perspective.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome, man. That's great. You got the 3.8 acres and you're working through the zoning process, the permitting process, got the PUD, all that good stuff. What's next for you? What have you been working on here lately for the project?
When I first got started, I didn't realize all the moving pieces, right? I knew we wanted a 10 bed, but then as okay, I didn't see myself being a developer. I just thought we were going to be operators. And now is I'm a capital raiser. That's the third business that I wasn't envisioning, right? So right now it's just, of course, and this is on top of having my day job, which now feels like a side hustle, right? With all these moving pieces of us, okay, how do we get this operations and development going, but also give the opportunities to the investors? Because to be honest, when I started, we were going to do this by ourselves. We thought, okay, we can do a 110 bed and we'll just get that going. And then later on, we'll continue about expanding. But then once you get going and you start to see the opportunity here and through coaching also, they mentioned, look, opportunities like this don't come around too often. So this is a great opportunity. Why not give other investors that opportunity? And so the way I see it is a win-win situation because I also see it as time lost. If I do one home, get it full, by the time we go get the second one built, and get it full. That's a time lost there. The opportunities that families could have had a better place to stay, a better place for their loved ones. And so that's where why don't we open it up to the investors to again win-win for everyone. They can get part of this opportunity. We can provide better housing for our seniors earlier. And that's basically what I'm trying to do right now, getting all those pieces of the puzzles come
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but you guys are handling it really well. And that's huge. Yeah. What's the timeline? Do you know in terms of how long once you break ground, how long do you anticipate the builds are going to take?
Yes. So we're anticipating the bill's going to take about 15 months.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
then we'll break ground. We'll be opening and then start to fill the beds there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a bit about the homes. If you don't mind sharing your vision there with the home, 16 beds. These are going to be quite large.
Sorry to interrupt this episode, but let's be honest. Most real estate investing right now, it's either buy a fourplex or try Airbnb and hope for the best.
Yeah, we're not here for that.
We're here to show you what we believe is the most overlooked high cash flow real estate strategy in the game right now. You guessed it, residential assisted living. It's literally the one place in real estate where you can net six figures on a single home and feel like a decent human being at the same time. You're helping sweet old ladies eat pancakes and play bingo and live longer through better care. You tell me what's better than that.
So, we're hosting a free live webinar called How You Can Create Financial Freedom with Residential Assisted Living. No fluff, just value. And it's happening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 Mountain Time. No excuses. It's online. Put on sweatpants. We won't judge.
We'll break down why residential assisted living is the best opportunity right now, the 5 steps to take down your first home, and how to set up a business that makes a real impact and real money.
Spots are limited. So don't be that person who DMs us in 3 months saying, wait, is it too late to start?
So hit up theralroom.com/webinar and register now.
Be the hero your grandma already thinks that you are.
We'll see you there. Pancakes not included.
Do you mind sharing a bit more about the kind of layouts and what that's going to look like and some things that you're excited about for the homes and the care that's going to be provided there?
Yes, definitely. They're not 9,200 square feet each. There's a general common area, the big living room, dining room. We have a bonus room slash game room slash storm or safe room, right? We are in Oklahoma, and
Yeah.
general kitchen. And so, yeah, a big home, right? It's a nice home. But then every resident will have their own private room, private restrooms, full roll-in showers. And so that's the layout of the home. And our plan is to have 2 caregivers 24 hours a day. We will have a private chef and an administrator. That's our staffing for the home.
That is awesome. Yeah, and I've seen some renderings of the home. It's gorgeous, and it's gonna do really well. I think you guys are just gonna be a class on your own there in Oklahoma. It is gonna crush. And if I'm looking for assisted living for myself soon in Oklahoma, I'm coming to hit you up. But hopefully not. But it's amazing what you guys are building, and super excited to see that. Let's zoom out a little bit and just talk about the assisted living industry for folks who are interested just in the industry as a whole, or kind of some challenges that you may face and how you've thought through that. Pedro, what do you think is, I'll ask you this, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for you guys in terms of operations?
So as far as the operations will be our caregivers, because we are targeting a higher level of care, we are looking for individuals that have heart. At this point, my vision is I rather have someone that has the heart for elderly and get them trained up than the top-notch trained individual, but does not have the compassion that we need for our homes, right? So that's where I'm seeing the biggest, I guess, risk for our operations, the making sure we find the correct caregivers, because it all
Yeah.
starts from the top down, right? So we
Mhm.
need to make sure that culture is embedded, and that again, if my mom's going to be there, we need to make sure that I can trust every single person in our home.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a couple of key points are the heart, right? Is the heart, is the culture, right? Like the skills of caregiving, it's a very challenging and demanding job. And I in no way mean to belittle that, but the skills of caregiving can be taught, right? But the heart is not something that you can teach. And so you want to really make sure that you're taking the time to set the culture for the home. And that's one thing that I think is really cool about new development is obviously you start with a vacant home, and so you have the opportunity to really build that team, to build that culture to be exactly what you want, and have the time to do it, because these are things that you can start doing during construction, and for before the home's finished you can start reaching out to caregivers and start pre-leasing the home and all those sorts of things. And so it gives you a good opportunity to be able to do that. But I think that's the right way to look at it is, hey, let's find the folks that are going to have the right fit, the right culture fit, the right heart, and then we can teach the skills. And that is awesome. And then I think one thing that you mentioned too is that's going to be really helpful is an administrator. And I think that'll help you. You're still in your W-2 job, of course. So what's the thought behind an administrator? What will that look like for them and their role in the home for you?
Yes, Stephanie. So actually, my wife and I are planning on going through the state classes and learning all that, because at the end, we need to understand how our home is going to be run and make sure our policies and procedures do align to rules and regulations. But at the end, we do need a licensed professional in our state to be responsible for the home. And so that's why we will hire a licensed administrator. But again, they need to have the heart for it. I don't need someone that's just going to numbers. It's not just about the numbers. If
Right.
we start focusing on the numbers and not the heart, then that's the culture we will create down. So that's why my administrator will be key for us. And then therefore they can train the remaining of our caregivers. But
Yeah.
yes, they do need to be licensed in the state of Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And I think really helpful, as you mentioned, from the top down. They'll probably have a lot more hands-on with the caregivers too. And I think one thing that folks I have seen is that people will just look for an administrator to hang their license. And they're like, "Oh, I
Mm.
just need an administrator to hang their license." And I'm like, "Man, you need an administrator to really get involved, who really cares about your home and really wants to help the home provide truly exceptional care, not just to hang a license." I know you and I know your heart, and I'm glad to hear that's going to be a big key focus for hiring for you guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. What are some big lessons that you've learned so far? Or a subsequent question, maybe, what is something that you might have wished you'd done a little bit differently so far in the development process for you, or just your journey in general?
I see that two questions there. One biggest eye opening for me is the little that I knew about memory care. Now that I'm getting into this space, until you're there, you really don't know. I did not know what the families are going through when they're facing someone with dementia, being Alzheimer's, being Parkinson's dementia, whatever different types are out there. I didn't know there were so many. And then how do you still keep that relationship when it starts to become more difficult? Because I learned that it takes 5 to 8 years for someone to detect that they have dementia, and then 3 out of the 5 will deny it because of the
Yeah.
stereotype, right? And so now is, wait, how are we, if we're going to be in a position that we can help? That's one of the things that I want to take on as a mission, to help the surrounding community, how to educate, and not once you're knee deep into the situation, at that point you probably don't even reach out for help because you don't even know where to reach out for help.
Mhm.
So that's something that I want to do, really help the community learn early on, not make it a topic that's not talked about publicly. It should be brought up. We should all know and understand and be there to help those that are going through the situations where their loved one is no longer performing to who they were, but it doesn't mean that they're not the same person. Still keeping that dignity. Yeah, it's key for me there. To the other part of that question of what would I've done earlier or different, I guess I would have just started talking earlier more about this to share. But again, it takes a while. We all come up to speed at different times, right? And so now that I am more passionate and learning, I was like, huh, I wish I would have known this bit earlier so I could start sharing it more, get more people involved and looking into this space. So that's really what I would have done, just being able to be more public about it, sharing more to get others interested in the space.
Absolutely. Those are great answers. What are some of the trends that you're seeing in the assisted living industry right now?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question because I did attend the NIC conference in August, and that's the where the majority of the big facilities, their executives were all there, and so they were talking from the stage how the current assisted livings that works for the silent generation is not going to work for the baby boomers. The baby boomers are the most educated, the wealthiest. They want choices, and
Mhm.
so they have to find a niche of how are they going to attract these baby boomers. They want better quality care, more intimate, smaller. And that's where I was all excited. Hey, this is our niche. This is what we're doing. It aligns right to where we are providing that better care that the baby boomers are going to want. So you're going to see more of these more residential, smaller scale, because no one wants to go to an institutional setting or wants to send their loved ones there. And so you'll, if you haven't seen them already, depending on your state, you'll start to see them. But I know here in Oklahoma, we're probably one of the first ones here with a 16-bed model. But yeah, other states will, you'll see it, more of those homes.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely going to see more, and I think it is also going to play a really key role in helping to combat the supply demand mismatch when it comes to housing. Like, it's a little bit easier to build and or renovate a single family home. A little more complicated when you're doing something as amazing as what you guys are doing, but nonetheless, like there's a little bit more opportunity there to renovate or convert a home into assisted living, and so I think that's a way that we can help from that perspective. But I agree with you for sure. I think the luxury residential assisted living is going to be a huge win going forward. And the other thing that is really interesting too, that I've been learning a lot more recently, is the design that the boomers want. And we had Kai Cheng and William come into the RAL Room, of course. They're MIT trained designers, and it was really fascinating to hear them talk about how they surveyed all these seniors and all these boomers, and they thought, oh, they're going to want like 1970s grandma basement, like shag carpet and all that stuff, right? And they don't. They want like the clean, modern, looks really high class, really A class. That's what they want, and that's what you guys are building. So I say all that to say it's going to be awesome. And being on the forefront, being one of the first homes in Oklahoma, like it's going to be really cool to see that project go through for you. Pedro, for folks who are listening, with the silver tsunami upon us, how do you see the industry or the model evolving and growing in the next 5 to 10 years? You hit on that a bit already, but is there anything else that you see evolving, growing, or changing in the industry?
Again, the need is there even now because the current small RALs in the area, they have a waiting list. And so again, we're not going to be able to build these fast enough. And so, of course, the alternative then will be the big box. All right. And so that's where our niche is, a higher scale, but it's not for everyone, but it is going to be a little bit more limited because there are not going to be enough beds to fill that need. And so that's what we're trying to get the word out. If you have the desire to really put the time and energy to go and develop these projects, and it does take time and it's a lot of energy, but we need to get going because by the time these get up and running, we're going to have another waiting list, another shortage, right? We're not even there yet, and we already have, again, wait lists in some of these homes.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's definitely something that is much needed. And for folks who are listening and they want to learn more, we would love to have you join us in the RAL Room or come join a free webinar and learn more. It's a really awesome opportunity. Pedro, for anyone who's on the fence getting involved in assisted living, is there anything in particular you'd say to them to try and get them over the fence, get them started?
So again, like I was saying, it's not easy, right? It does take a lot of work. And so first is to determine what is it that you want, because there's a lot of opportunity on these projects. If you want the real estate, if you want the operations, if you want to do both, if you want to do a remodel, if you want to do ground up, if you want, right? There's so many opportunities here. And first is deciding what is it that you want and how does it look for you in your area. And then if you just want to get involved, but not really do the work, there's plenty of projects like ours, right? And other operators or developers that are doing the day to day that are going to develop these homes where investors can come right along and take advantage of the demographic driven returns. And so it doesn't mean you literally have to raise your sleeves and get in there and do it. It's just getting involved, getting connected with those that are in the space to take advantage of this opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. There's a lot of projects. There's a lot of people who need capital for those projects. And so that can be a really great way to do it, is maybe just passively investing is right for you. And you're still making a difference in the senior living space, and you're still helping to provide really exceptional care for grandmas and grandpas. So that can be a great way to do it. I was going to ask a question on what you're working on right now that you're passionate about, which is obviously Arise Well in this project. So I'm not going to ask that question, but what's something outside of assisted living that you're passionate about or that you're working on right now?
Outside of assisted living,
Yeah.
honestly, I started as I was doing single family rentals. I was doing some private lending. Those are just investments.
Yeah.
And I never saw myself stepping away from my job because it was like, those are just investments. But this is causing me to have this drive, this passion for assisted living that I breathe and talk about it all the time. I can talk about this all day. Oh, I don't know. It's just it aligned right with my desire of wanting to make a difference in other people's lives. So really, I can see this eventually. This is my exit strategy from corporate America. Why? Because I see myself in this space and I really am enjoying the growth, the opportunity, and then of course be able to help others. Again, sharing to me is just reinforces what I know, and it just helps build a stronger community. And so where we can help each other. And so that's really My majority of my focus is really in this project.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that, Pedro. How can folks reach out to you if they want to invest in this project, if they want to learn more? What's the best way to connect with you or contact you?
Yes, I guess if they would like a short little guide on how investors profit from boutique assisted living and memory care homes, I can send that little quick guide. They can text the word guide to 405-246-9921. Again, that's guide to 405-246-9921. Or they can also look me up on Facebook and LinkedIn, Pedro Luna. I'm on both of those platforms.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll include some of those links in the show notes there so folks can find you a little bit easier as well. And then do you have a website that you can share with folks, or if folks are looking to learn more about investing with you on this project? Is there a good website that they can take a look at?
Yes, I'll send you the website so you can add it to the notes.
Perfect. Please do. Yeah, we'll put the links in the show notes there. And it's cool that you can see the renderings as well for the exterior of the homes on there. And it'll get you excited. It's a cool project that you guys are doing. This has been awesome, Pedro. I am so glad that we were able to record this podcast. And man, we're really proud of you and what you guys are doing and what you're building, and excited to be a small part of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care.
Absolutely. Have a good night. Thanks for everyone who's listening.
Thank you for tuning in to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is the RAL room.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks.
And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey.
Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room Podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.